Welcome to the Stoa. The Stoa is a digital campfire where we cohere and dialogue about what matters most at the knife's edge of what's happening now. All right, everyone, welcome to the Dark Stoa. I am Peter Limberg, the steward of the Stoa. And the Dark Stoa is a place to explore existential ultra catastrophes for the sole purpose of reframing them in order to navigate them and have sane pathways of action and meaning. And the star of the evening, as always, is the most dangerous man on the internet, Patrick Ryan. And this was a part of season 2 of the Dark Stoa. And it's coming to an end. And if you were here last week or you watched the video on YouTube, Pat did a lecture on who he was. And we didn't have a chance to have a Q&A. So today's session is going to be a Q&A based off that talk. So how's it going to go? I'm going to ask Pat. We're going to have a conversation for about 20 minutes. And anytime while we're talking, if you have a question, put it in the chat box. This will go on YouTube, so if you want me to read on your behalf, just indicate that. And most importantly, keep it clean in the chats. All right, so Pat, are you there? It says no source selected. You're back. So I'm gonna unmute you. You're good. Good. Okay, cool. So yeah, the question. Actually, someone sent me an email recently, and they're saying, like, Peter, you're such like a good faith, nice interlocutor. How'd you get hooked up with this Pat Ryan guy? And I was being interviewed on a podcast, and someone asked the same question. How do you know this Pat Ryan guy? So essentially, Jordan Hall emailed me and said, check out this Pat Ryan guy. And I was intrigued because, like, if some of you know my work, I do culture war analysis and stuff. And I like categorizing people. Like, okay, this is like somebody from intellectual dark web, this is a new atheist. But I couldn't categorize Pat Ryan. And I love it when I can't categorize somebody. And when I was talking to Pat about this, he said, I think you said to me something along the lines is that by design, you're not meant to be categorized. So I think this may be a good place to start, and then we can go in kind of some of the stuff we touched last time. So what do you mean by that, by design?
Sure. So I hate identity. I hate it. I've seen nothing but problems come from identity. It's the idea that I have to conform to a very specific. I'm sorry, I'm futzing around with a bunch of technical stuff that's interfering with me. I apologize. There we go. My concern with identity is that it's always for the convenience of the administrator, not the administrated. There is supposed to be some type of social benefit from fitting in within one identity or another. For example, if I identify as a white male, there is some assumed categorical privileges that are then splash damaged upon me. But that implies a Gaussian distribution of such things. So what we're doing is we're no longer talking about humans the moment we talk about identity. We're talking about categorical adherence, my ability to fit into a category as opposed to what my entire brain is actually doing this entire time. That's where the fun is. Up here is where, this is where we are doing all of our behavior just because I fit into a category or not, so that an advertiser can give me better ads or a politician can give me better distribution of resources. That's not the entirety of my existence. I'm beyond that. We're all beyond that. I think we're all beyond pissed about it as well. So I decided to, instead of say identity is stupid, I'm just going to live a post-identity life. That's basically it. And the early internet, I could do that. It was all text-based. We didn't have video or images or sound or any type of human signal that you could use to justify. If I was 18 female in a chat room, then I was 18 female in a chat room. I'm not telling you why I was 18 female in a chat room. Maybe I'm just collecting information on someone, or maybe I'm just trolling or whatever. I can reinvent my identity per line, per snippet. I could be 36 male in the next sentence. This is freedom to me because I am whatever my brain wants me to be at any given moment for any context, and I reserve that right, and it's my right to do that. It's not even a right. It's just, I'm going to do it, period. You have to put force on me to stop me from doing that. And they are trying to do that. They are trying to say, here's the categories you must fit into when you interact on social media. Here's how you're going to get censored for being it. And then this is the content you're supposed to see. And here's the reality tunnel. And there is, I do not like Skinner boxes. I don't like cages. I am a terrible prisoner. I'm the world's worst slave. I just want to have the freedom to be whatever in whatever context that I'm in, just so I can be in it. And so that's how I live my life. And I'm sure it infuriates everyone around me based on all the data that I've seen. But you can't just tell people to be post-identity. You have to live it. And so I'm doing my best to live it.
And last week you said that you experienced the full spectrum of life by age 10. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there are considerable. What's the old? Oh, one second, folks. I got some tea I want to drink. However bad you think humans are, they're worse. Now you can think, well, my definition of a bad human is someone who doesn't conform to my personal category or is adjacent to this other category. And these are nice little heuristics. But let's not talk about the human behavior's accordance to set theory. Let's just talk about human behavior as is. We are the byproduct of 4 billion years of a very complicated game of evolution. Some people say it's fitness, some people say it's psychology, some people say it's energy efficiency. Why not all of it? Why can't all of those be selection criteria? It's very difficult to state. It's very difficult to understand the intention behind life. If we look at life as a function, why it does what it does. People can take a snippet of it, they can take a fraction of it and look exclusively in that fraction and say, oh, the purpose of life is to generate styrofoam. Maybe, that's the old George Carlton, I think George Carlton, one of his jokes. Maybe the earth wanted styrofoam, right? So Carlin, that's right. So when I talk about humans being worse than you can possibly imagine, I've spent a lot of time dealing with being the target of that worseness. And I've spent a lot of my time trying to figure out why they were this way. And this is a difficult thing for people to explore and reconcile with their own personal experiences. They are given bad heuristics, or they're given bad information, or they're given convenient information. None of that was good enough for me, because every time an explanation was given to me about, well, humans are this way because they're poor. Okay, so I'll go hang around some rich people. Oh, they're assholes too. There goes that argument. Okay, humans are this way because they're Christian. Okay, I'll go hang out with some Muslims. Nope, they're assholes too. Moving on, right? So all of these category theories, attempts to understand human situations, completely wrong. They completely failed. They had no descriptive power, predictive power at all, period. End of conversation. I had to look into what life was actually doing, why it was doing these weird, crazy, aggressive, abusive things. Why were we doing this to each other? I like to think I came close to an answer, but in order for me to even go through, and even for me to, I'm sorry, I have to close something. I'm getting inundated by unlimited. Go away. In order for me to even care about that path, I had to have been first subjected to that worseness, and I was. There isn't a domain of abuse you can name that I haven't experienced. You can go to physical, verbal, emotional, sexual. You can go to social. You can go to, you can invent one. I probably got hit by it. That's not me being a victim. That's just me. I've seen the very worst of humanity. I've lived it. I've been a victim of it. I've done it to people. I've abused people as well. Mostly people who deserve it. They don't always get it right. So I've seen what it means to be that way. And the answers on why we are this way are not satisfactory to me. They've never been satisfactory. And so I've been trying to understand it, because once you can understand it, you can predict it. And if you can predict it, you can avoid the abuse. And if you can avoid the abuse, you can actually stop it, because that gives you the time to actually strike back. So basically, short answer is I've experienced all of it.
Can you tease out some of the insights that informed you from having that full spectrum of life experience by age 10? And you said something in the last presentation that you have a keen understanding of female psychology, and I wonder, elaborate on that as well.
Yeah, that's always one of those claims you make, and there's a bunch of libertarians on Reddit who are going, "Well, now wait a minute," and this type of stuff. But the my mother was a pile of trash. Still remains one, to be fair. She's a walking pile of trash, and she's doing her best to be better. But I had to put her on that road. I had to literally force her on that road, and there's no way to fix her. Why? Why was she this way? I know why. I can explain precisely why she was that way. Her father died. Her father was her best friend. Her father died in a chemical plant from years and years of working there from cancer, at the age of 50, or heart failure or something that involved just working with chemicals way too long in a period in which those type of protections did not exist. So yeah, I can explain that socioeconomically. That's easy. Put on, give me my sociology points. I did it. Yay, I'm ready for academia, right? But that doesn't change what her negligence resulted in, just because I can explain it, and I still had to go through it. So her father died, so she took the drugs. She took the alcohol. Meth was a fun one. So it's drug of choice, she explained it. And she abandoned myself and my brothers when we were 5. I have brothers, right? So did you know that, right? I haven't seen my brothers in 20 years. I don't know. But being abandoned by your mother is, let me make it worse. Being abandoned by your mother, and then the whole of society telling you that females never make mistakes. Put those two things together. What do you get? What do you get when you have an entire civilization that says it's your right to choose abortion because female rights, right? What do you get when your mother abandons you and then you're told, oh, she should have aborted you? That would have been more convenient for her, right? Well, what do you get when you get that? What happens when your mother drops you with random people so she can go get high every fucking night? So you have all of these concepts of identity being used to rationalize very bad actions, and they get away with it, and they still get away with it to this day. For as long as I've been alive, these sociopathic females still get away with it, and that's entirely the fault of identity. This identity has created this sociopathic Eve, and it's and I was raised by one of them, so I know how they go. I know how they think. I know what happens when you give that particular person full license to engage in any whim of agency they want. And then they have the full protection of the state and federal morality and culture and billionaires and a bunch of scumbags in Silicon Valley who enjoy their prostitutes to have slightly higher IQs than the other ones. So I know these people. I know all these people. So it's frustrating having to deal with that shit, because it's never changed. It's always been that way. And it's probably not going to change anytime soon. In fact, it may accelerate to get worse, because all this stuff that we've done to ourselves in America, we're going to export it to other countries, We're going to export it to Islamic countries, and we're going to export it to African countries, and we're going to export it to China, and we're going to call that liberal democracy. And we're going to say, look how equal we've made everybody. So you're going to see a lot more me in the future, a whole lot more me. I don't know if y'all want that, but we're going to find out.
So one thing I was always curious about you, and when you came on the scene, I think the Rally Point Alpha, which was like a proto game beat group, everyone was like, oh, who's this homegrown genius that's saying all this crazy shit. There's a lot of excitement around that. And there's always a sense that you were like a lone wolf this homegrown genius lone wolf type guy. But there's also some mystery. You alluded to some connections. Lee Stranahan, I think. Steve Bannon's boy. So yeah, are you a lone wolf?
I have a very loose network of people who, if you put them all in the same room, they'd probably try to kill each other. I run the gamut from the far left to the far right. My network is very vast. I have, like I said, I'm an ex-Marxist, so I have those connections still. And I pal around with what people would consider the far right a lot because of the 4chan stuff. Mostly LARPers, to be honest. But, I have those connections as well. I have connections to countries where they are at war with one another. I have a very large network, and I need the freedom of identity to bring that network together and transmute it into something useful. As long as identity remains, and I cannot do that. I'm unable to take these transmutation chains and build the thing I need because identity is actively stopping it from happening. So in terms of Lee, that is a wild fucking story how I got in with Lee. I wrote my book, I released it. A very powerful person read it, and she liked it. This woman, I can't mention her name, and I don't want to. She is probably one of the smartest human beings I've ever met, period. This is a person who was born and bred in as powerful of a family as you can imagine. One of the most powerful families humanity has ever produced. And she was raised by those people, and she liked my book. And I liked the way she thought. I liked the way she approached her problems. And I liked the way she never lost her cool. I've never seen her lose her cool. And I've seen her in some high stakes, powerful, like, fuck around and you lose millions of dollars type things. I've always respected her, and I still do to this day. And she greenlit my book, basically. She's like, I'll walk you through Hollywood. I'll walk you through all this stuff. This is fantastic stuff. So she was running point for me, and it was great. But the problem here is the first page of my book. That's the problem. Now, as you know, the book is it's my theory on how AI will most likely evolve and how you only need to capture emotions if you want AIs to do what we want them to do. But the first page of my book was a synopsis of the AI figuring out which events were responsible for its own creation. So it's moving between 4 different events, 4 key events that it was able to predict, that if these events changed in any other way, then the AI would not have been created to begin with. So it's doing some introspection on its own creation. And all of it was taken from my life experiences. Each character was me in the step of another person. It was another fragment of my brain. It wasn't Pat Ryan, the person you're talking to now. It was Pat Ryan as a priest, Pat Ryan as an arsonist, Pat Ryan as these things, and then merging 2 people together in Pat Ryan plus this octopus, different kinds of perspectives to build these characters out. And the one character was the CEO of the corporation who built this AI and all of the childhood trauma he had to go through in order to do it. And that first page of that book was my ability to remember as much of the abuse that I went through, the sexual abuse, as much of it. Now, unfortunately, it's blacked out of my brain. So from 5 to 17, it was a blackout. Cognition has a funny way of protecting you. And those first pages were my best attempt at writing it down as much as I could remember. And what I didn't realize, I was sending a signal to Hollywood that I was programmed, and I didn't even fucking know it. Because they look for those people. They are looking for people who have endured that level of abuse. They know that they can be, you can give suggestions to them. They know that they are pliable, and you can do that stuff. And I was just announcing with a big red light, didn't even realize it at the time, a big red light that I was one of those kids. And so they knew how to treat those kids. They walked them right through the halls of power of Hollywood, because that's the recruitment process. I didn't realize that at the time, but one of her pals in the CIA took a look at my book in 2007 and was like, this is some interesting stuff. We have an epistemology problem. I was like, what do you mean the CIA has an epistemology problem? What are you talking about? Like, how do you even know that word? It's 2007. Like, what is the problem here? And I had like, in a span of a couple seconds, I'm like, epistemology? You have a science of knowledge problem. You're collecting too much data and you can't make sense of it. And he was like, yeah, that's exactly it. And this is 2007. This is right when Facebook was about to go live and right when Twitter and all that social media stuff was going live. They were trying to solve for the epistemology problem of big data. How do you make sense of the noise? And my book proposed an answer. I said, you don't need to collect the data. You just need to collect the emotions. That's it. Once you have the emotions, you can predict people. You can create option trees, huge option trees of entire populations, and steer them and figure out where the markets are going to go. You're no longer predicting at that point. Once you have an emotional map of the human destiny, you don't need to predict. You literally make it happen. You poke this node, which emotionally disrupts this person, which then disrupts this person, which then disrupts this person. And then now you're not predicting the future. You're literally controlling it. You're literally creating it through emotions alone. Now we're looking at this place now where the news is aggravating us and the ads are aggravating us. And guess what? Things I wrote about, they happened. They solved the epistemology problem. They started collecting the emotions. Now they didn't do it right. I never told them how to do it in full. My Neanderthal brains were a key part of that, but I never gave that to them. So from there, I got really good with her. And then I got to meet a brilliant musician who just really got it. He understood it. I have a soft spot for music. And his friend was Lee Stranahan's son. And me and Shane have a very, very long relationship. We've done a lot together, and we've solved all the world's problems by now, I'm sure. But Lee was out there doing his Lee thing, and it was only a matter of time until we started tangling and talking. And I'm on his show every so often. He invites me up, and I was very big in the Gamergate stuff, obviously. So Lee is, how do I put this? When people see Lee in a room, they run. In any one of these rooms in DC, they just run because they know if you are put in front of that dude, he's going to get info on you and you're not going to like it. It's not that he's malicious. It's just that he's real good at getting that type of information and juggling it all in his mind. He has an incredible knowledge of information that's just sitting there ready to fire off at a moment's notice. So you definitely don't want to add to that. You don't even get in the same room with that guy if you're not okay with adding to that list. So that's the story of Lee. I got there through my Hollywood connection.
So I'm going to share my screen right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you see this?
Yep.
So I was wondering if you could walk us through this again, because I have some follow-up questions. So to recap, Pat was mentioning how he bought a bunch of followers for Milo, and this kind of chain reaction occurred.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the transmutation chain. So we start with Milo. Milo was the antithesis of the, no, he wasn't the antithesis. He was the mirror image of the sociopathic Eve. So the women who just get away with everything, he was using the exact same mannerisms, technique, languages, everything. He was just like them, but he wasn't one of them, and that was the problem. He didn't fit their identity pattern. So what I was able to do is say, oh, what breeds competition more than emulation? Nothing. If me and you are the same thing, then that's competition. If I'm the complete opposite of you, that's kind of exotic. So I didn't want exotic. I wanted something that was identical to the sociopathic female, and he was real dead close. Plus, he's funny. But from that type of attack vector, that was the psychological reasoning behind that. So picked him, and then I spoofed his spoofed his follower count, which then flags all kinds of AIs and bots and saying creature with interesting properties. That's exactly correct. And by spoofing his accounts, whenever you do that, you get a bunch of followers for tweeting something. People start looking, they're like, what did you do? What's going on here? Because most reporters don't do that. They don't tweet and then they get like 1 billion new followers. They might get 1 million likes, but who cares? Getting new followers is much more proof of engagement. So poof, you get the followers. Intercept, I think he was with the Independent at the time. Bannon came in and said, yoink, I'll take you, because Bannon is just out there doing culture war. Bannon don't give a fuck. Bannon hates you. Bannon hates me. Bannon hates Bannon. Bannon hates, and he's fucking good at it. You're not going to find anyone who's as good as it as he is. He's a goddamn legend in that. He's amazing. And he has his own vision because he sees certain enemies, certain opposition forces, I should say, that are significantly going to undermine what in his vision should be the destiny of America. And he's going balls out against those people, like big balls out. There isn't, whatever is on this planet, he can and will turn into a weapon in that fight. There's nothing that can stop that. That's not going to happen. So he gets picked and he starts flexing his culture war muscle. It works really well. I mean, we got the Trump. We know it worked pretty damn well. He was able to do the identity games too through the AI stuff with Cambridge Analytica, as you know. I think he was on the board there for a bit. Then Trump. Oh, Trump. Oh boy. I spent a lot of my life in South Jersey. So we've known of Trump way before all of you. I mean, you can't do, like, I live 20 minutes from Atlantic City. So that's where he made a lot of his money. He made all of his money just doing casino stuff. Now, the thing about casinos is you can't do casinos in those times. Can't just walk up in a casino and be like, I'm gonna start a new casino. It was illegal. Most states you couldn't do it. You had Atlantic City, you had Las Vegas, and that was about it. You had 2 spots. Now, Atlantic City was formed because of Prohibition. You had all these people, they couldn't drink. So they would take the rail, hop on down from Philly and New York and whatever, and they'd come on down to Atlantic City where all the bootlegger docks were and everything else, and you get the liquor. And so you have like an entire generation of like World War II vets. Like their heyday was Atlantic City when they were like 20. Like they'd come down there and they'd drink. That was their drinking hole. And so Atlantic City, like crazy money because it's Prohibition, and it's all illegal money too, because you can't buy the shit. So what do you do with money from stuff that you can't buy? Well, you got to launder it. You got to make that money look legit. Now, how do you do that? With a fucking casino. Ta-da! Solve the problem. All right, so we solved the problem of getting the flow of money from the illegal product. We use casinos. Great, we did it. Which means you can't just own a casino. Even if it's allowed, you can't just roll up in Atlantic City, just drop a new casino and be like, hey guys, how you doing? I'm here for the competition. No, you can't do that. You can only get a casino if you are mobbed the fuck up, period. End of conversation. So that's mob ties. It's also a big reason why I left Jersey. But that's all mob shit. Okay, if we got straight mobster in the White House now, something went wrong, but not for the reasons you suspect. Something went off the rails somewhere. Someone fucked up royally, and they had to put a pit bull in the White House to fix it. So that was a signal to me that shit was about to get hot. I was like, oh, God, they got the mob in the White House. Oh, last time that happened was fucking JFK, I think. So, okay, something's going on here. And, although we all love the memes about Trump and all the rah hate Trump stuff, there's plenty of that for days. You can do that until you're bored in the face. You won't get any closer to actually what's going on, but at least you'll be entertained. Then Al-Wa'id. He's the guy that I'm sure most of you don't recognize in the middle. The Arab in the middle. He is Al-Wa'id. Al-Wa'id, God. Al-Wa'id was one of the wealthiest people on the earth. He was a major holder of Citigroup, I should say. He was one of the largest single owners of shares of Twitter. He was oil money. And the other thing you got to remember about Al-Wa'id is that he was trying to be Peter the Great of Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is still doing its, we have all the oil money, so we don't have to actually update our culture thing. And so they're still very much Iron Age culture mentality. And plus, their holy site, their religion, a lot of the holy sites of that religion are in that country. So that country is kind of predestined to be a very important theological construct in and of itself. And so the people live those lives, and a lot of Islam lives those lives as well. They look at Medina, they look at Mecca. They have those stories about Muhammad. And Al-Wa'id was effectively trying to be Peter the Great, where he was trying to modernize Saudi Arabia and make it more liberal and make it more Western friendly. And he made a lot of friends in the West by doing so, primarily a lot of Democrats, especially through Citigroup. One of the woman I told you about with my book, well, her family was Citigroup, big time. So Al-Wa'id was doing some dumb things in the name of trying to make Saudi Arabia progressive. And you can rationalize that. You can say, well, I'm gonna make my country modern. I'm gonna make them free. I'm gonna make them, these Western values, right? And you can get in a lot of trouble doing that, and he did. The thing is, when Trump got elected, and there were not a lot of people who were happy about that, and Al-Wa'id was certainly one of those people, because he may or may not have done some really dumb things in the name of trying to modernize Saudi Arabia. So the Las Vegas shooting, which was one of those weird events where it happens and then everybody forget it happened. Like, oh, we're just gonna shoot up 600 people, 600 Americans in Saudi Arabia, and then disappear all the witnesses, the footage, and everything else, and just, I don't know, just, what shooting? What are you talking about, right? Well, the shooters were firing out of his penthouse. Now, you can't just go into an oil sheik's penthouse and just pop rounds off. It's just not a thing. You don't just accidentally, I'm just going to pick this. I'm going to pick this suite. Fuck it. Kick in the door. Shoot up these windows that are crazy bulletproof. Bash them out and just start popping Americans. I'm going to do that, right? Your chances of landing on his property to do that is slim to fucking zero. There's no way. There's no way you would accidentally just happen to be in his suite popping off rounds. Not a thing. So shortly after the Las Vegas shooting, this dude loses his entire extended family. So there are a lot of people who decided to say, you just can't kill Americans. We're going to kill you. And that's what they did. They rolled up his whole family, shot him in broad daylight, interrogated a lot of them. They hung this dude upside down for 6 weeks in the hotel and beat the shit out of him. And at the end, he was forced to cough up $6 billion and possibly ownership of Twitter as well. So he goes down. He got ganked. And that's when I realized, oh God, it's that bad. It's gotten that bad to where you can take down someone who's worth $18 billion and get away with it bad. You just can't whack that dude and his friends and walk away unscathed. He gets to spend his whole life plotting revenge against you. The only reason you can do that is because he fucked up. He fucked up bad. And there's a lot of people who either wanted him down or were willing to abandon him when it was his time to get answer for what he did. So again, you just can't whack billionaires and get away with it. They got the resources to exterminate your genome from the planet. And they've done this. So for him to get hit like that, whew, boy, that was a mega signal. That was a huge signal of how fucked the world was. You just can't get away with that. So how does that lead to China? Well, China needs oil. That's it. China needs oil. How do you get a modern country without oil? Well, you're gonna make solar panels. You're gonna make solar panel tanks. You're gonna have electric powered jets. Give me that plant-based. Give me that plant-based helicopter, right? The weapons of war. You can't. There's no environmental equivalent of those weapons of war. Elon Musk isn't out there making hybrid tanks. It's not a thing. So I need oil to be modern. There's no way around it. And where's all the oil? Well, it's not in China. It's in the South China Sea. It's in the Arctic. It's in Siberia. It's in Iran. It's in the Middle East. It's all over the place. But what about this oil? Why can't you just go into an open market and buy it? Well, it's a cartel. It's OPEC. OPEC has price controls on oil. You can only buy oil that is priced in American dollars. And when you do that, what you're doing is creating artificial demand for the US dollar. So our wonderful little utopia, the socialist experiment that we've been doing, and it is socialism. It's socialism for the rich and the poor simultaneously because we have gone that batshit with it. This is not funded by our productivity. This is not funded by our ability to do exports. This is funded exclusively by the artificial demand of the US dollar. Full stop. That's it. And where does that demand for the dollar come from? Well, it comes from the demand of oil, which is priced in US dollars. It's a reserve currency. The more of the world modernizes, the more oil they demand. The more oil they demand, the more US dollars they need to afford that oil. And that's it. So in order for China to get its oil, it does not want to buy American indexed oil. Because if it did that, it would accidentally make us powerful too. For every dollar of oil that they would buy, it would fund us. And China has 1 billion oil consumers about to come online. So the more they grow, the more we grow, and all we do is sit back and laugh. Because all they do is buy the oil. They do all the work. We just sit back and collect the check. China doesn't want that deal. Admittedly, I don't blame them. But they were aggressive about it. They were trying to cut deals with Iran and destabilizing all these things, and OPEC was real pissed, and there are oil producers who want to sell that oil at market rate. They don't want it at the indexing of the American dollar. They want to sell it to Europe. Americans were paying like $4 a gallon. What's Europe paying? Like $12 a gallon right now? Chinese will pay $9 a gallon for it. They'll happily pay that price. Oil producers, they want that. They don't want to sell to America anymore. And so what happens when you step out of line? Well, let's look at Saddam Hussein. We know what happened to him. Let's look at Gaddafi. We know what happened to him. An endless, never-ending war for 17 fucking years. For my generation to be the soldiers in, by the way. So if the 20% of us that were aborted, if you managed to get through the slaughterhouse of the female vagina, then you had the opportunity to go die in a war. Great, awesome. Or come back with fucking mental problems, or who knows what they're doing to you. So great, excellent, cool. Thanks for the pipe ride. Life is great. Ugh, what a mess. But this is all because China wants oil. And China does not want to buy American oil because it would accidentally empower us. And I knew that walking into this game. The first thing I researched extensively was the petrodollar, because it was after 2008. I needed an explanation because Marxism failed, as I said in my previous message. And I didn't get into the petrodollar during that because that's literally its own slide, because I'm still going on about it and I still haven't finished yet. So I knew the petrodollar was the key to explaining a lot of this behavior that Marxism just could not explain. And so I wrote about it. Zero Hedge cited my work 5 fucking times about it. So I'm pretty credentialed, guys. Like, you know, I took it seriously. And I know that China did not want that oil. And so they were going to step up and step out of line and do wild shit to get that oil. And eventually they were probably going to piss off or embolden the people who made China what it is, which leads us to our next character, which is Henry Kissinger. And I explained that history pretty extensively in the last episode, so no need to focus on that. But if you start going after Kissinger and friends, you're going after establishment. And if you go after establishment, it's one thing to wipe out, it's one thing to hang a billionaire for 6 weeks upside down and kick the shit out of him. It's another thing to make trillionaires disappear. Making a trillionaire disappear results in war, guaranteed every time. There's no way around it. That's why robotic nationalism is so important, because in order to take out a trillionaire, they have like people have kill switches. They have dirt on everybody. The kill switch of a trillionaire is a destabilized planet. You kill one, it's war, period. So how do you dislodge trillionaires without getting the rest of us killed? Because we're just human shields to them. So how do you do that? Well, I need a war that doesn't kill anybody. Robotic warfare. Once you put robotic warfare in play, yeah, now I can touch trillionaires. Now I can get them off the game too. Poof, away you go. Fuck off. Because those are the people that are actually stopping us from getting into space. And there's no other way to address them. So transmutate chain all the way up to whacking down the specific trillionaires who have stopped us from taking the stars. So that's what this transmutation chain was supposed to accomplish. So far it's working, but that next part's going to be fucking ugly.
All right. So I'm going to pivot to some questions in the chat soon. Throw them in there if you haven't already. Question from Daniel, who's not here today, is would you trust you?
Trust. I would trust me to do what I said I'm going to do. Yeah. If I met me and I was someone else, I'd be like, what the fuck is this character? Yeah, of course. I know what I am. I'm not trying to pretend to be an average person here. Would I trust me? In whole, in general? I don't trust anybody in whole in general. Maybe if the context was like a small village and I was acting like this, it's probably a good reason to bring in the shaman and some doctors and, let's talk it out. But while our DNA is still in that small village, we're very much not. Our technology is allowing us to do this. We're emulating a village. My DNA doesn't like this very much, apparently. So I would trust that I am uncomfortable in the current space about me. That much is obvious about our current location in time and place and what we're doing to each other. You can trust that I do not like it, and you can trust that I will act against it.
Cool. Hannah, you had some questions. If you can pick one and ask it to Pat.
I have one that I picked. Find it. All right. My experience listening to you now and last week is that of perceiving a lot of pain and anger. And I'm still unclear as to how the content is biasing that perception, since I've only felt this to a much lesser degree before last week. And if my perceptions are correct, I think there are some pretty good and valid reasons you've listed for why you might be feeling them. But I worry that if you are, that those feelings could be acting for you and detracting from your sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how you deal with that, or if you do.
Yeah, I don't have sovereignty. I just don't have it. My brain is kaleidoscoped. That's one of the byproducts of the abuse and the training. You kaleidoscope your mind, you compartmentalize. There's a whole episode of my life I don't even remember between. It's just blacked out. So I don't have sovereignty. I have a loose network of cognitive tricks and hacks and tactics that keep me going forward. But it's not as if it's my ego, my will at all times, and I control every part of my brain. I've given that fight up ages ago. There's almost no value in it. So it's not my way of excusing actions. Everybody is accountable for what they do to one another. Even if you eliminate morality, we are still at the very minimum accountable for whatever reaction is coming our way based upon what we put out there. I don't need morality for that. And I'm not trying to evade it either. I'm simply stating that, did I go into the, was it with you guys? Did I go into the Eat, Laugh, Pray story about the demon? Did I tell you guys that one? Okay, I'll share this one. So it was Eat, Laugh, Pray or something like that, that book. I don't remember what it was. There was a book, which I've never read, just to get that clear. Eat, Pray, Love. Thank you, that one, right? So Eat, Pray, Love, I've never read. As you can tell, probably not my cup of tea. But the author gave a very fascinating TED Talk well, I should say, she spoke of one particular point in her TED Talk that I found absolutely amazing. She was talking about the origin of genius, the word, the etymology, the thought process behind it. Why do we call each other geniuses? She said it's a burden. She's right. If you are trying to say that if I say someone's a genius, if I say, Hannah, you're a genius, what I'm doing is I'm giving the curse of identity upon you. You are now expected to be a genius because I've now called you that. There's now an expectation where you must be a genius forever in every action you do, in every domain you encounter, because I have cursed you to identity. So now, guess what you have? You have a pile of fucking anxiety, because there's no way every action you're going to do is going to be genius. It's just not possible. That's not a possibility. It's only 3 pounds of meat. There's only so much you can perceive. You can't even do it all. So what the Romans did was something very fundamentally different. They didn't say that the human was the genius. They said you have genius. And that's one of those mistranslations from playing telephone over the centuries. To say you have genius, they implied that the divine manifested as a demon on your shoulder and then whispered the divine into your ear. And then that was then compelling your behavior, and then the demon would disappear. So if you did something great, if you like did this crazy dance and the whole room was just like, wow, that was amazing, or you sung and it was like, wow, that's great, it's because the demon was channeling the divine through you at that moment of time, and then it left. So you don't have the expectation to be the thing just because you're allowed to. You don't have the expectation. The identity is removed by interpreting it that way. And what you're doing now is you're allowing yourself the freedom to be inspired by the divine. Because if you eliminate the identity barrier, the divine can happen to you at any given moment, and you're free to go through it because you know it's sitting on your shoulder. You know it's just commandeering you at that moment in time. No sovereignty needed, no agency needed. It's coming out. And if you allow yourself to be in that space where you give that demon its ability to move, you'll experience life very, very differently. For example, all the terrible stuff that I talk about and all the abyss working that I do, I've never experienced depression in my life. Not one fucking second. I don't even know what it feels like. Couldn't even tell you. I have a lot of anger, and people can say, oh, that's depression. But I've never sat down and said, oh man, I don't have the will to do this thing. I've had an abundance of will because I have anger. But that's me also. The key to that is to just say, I'm not an identity. I'm not a genius. I'm not these things. I am whatever. I'm not out here trying to control my brain and micromanage it. I have the agency to be inspired by the divine. That's an important part of who I am. And so anyway, that's what I do with the anger. That's why you may be perceiving it, because I let the divine channel through me whenever it has to. And I don't attribute that to my personality. It's just one part of it.
I got to follow up there. That was a really great TED Talk. But she used the word daemon, your guiding spirit, and you kept saying demon.
Yeah, sorry, mistranslation.
I'm curious, do you distinguish between the two, or do you think there's multiple kind of energetic forces that influence us?
I think when it comes to that, it could be external divine. It could be the divine of cellular memory as well. Like take the adaptation of the cell, the DNA. All the lessons of evolution are encoded at the geometric level. Whether it's a DNA helix, whether it's a cell membrane, all the lessons are there in a geometric space. And that geometric space changes over time to adapt to different configurations and whatnot. So to say that the divine can only come from outside, that's not true. It can also come from the cells. So the cellular structure is a lesson. It's not just you. I mean, technically, a cell is the only thing that's actually alive, and everything's derivative of that. But the cell has the limitations, just as the brain has the limitations of its shape and its size and its what it is trying to solve for. It's giving you suggestions what it's made for because of its shape. And so when those shapes, they carry, it's not memories, it's the wrong word, but they carry, God, I don't want to, I'm just going to anthropomorphize it, right? So it's whispering. These cells are whispering their suggestions to you. And it's not always the willpower that's at play here. These cells, all their lessons, it's constantly this aggregate whisper that is saying, you're going to go in this direction, or you find this person attractive, or you like doing this behavior. It's not a conscious thing. So the divine can come from the actual previous lessons of our ancestors as well. And those lessons are encoded quite literally at the physical space of the cell. So there's like a cellular memory. I think that's where a lot of the what we call divine is really coming from.
Jordan, you had a question.
Okay, I have unmuted. So, Pat, I've been following you for about 3 weeks now, and I'm a curious game of catch up, trying to contextualize all of this stuff. I guess my question mostly relates to your blackmail economy presentation. So I found it very revealing that you are mentioning having experienced abuse. You seem to have implied that it's ritualized or involves training. I'll let you go into that as you wish, but I had been sensing that you had more than a passing experience with it, perhaps something personal, based on the way that you're talking about it. My question is, the conclusion you draw in your blackmail economy piece, I want to put this delicately, seems to imply that you propose a continuation of it as opposed to a cessation of it. As somebody who considers what you seem to have gone through as probably the highest evil, how exactly are you arriving at the conclusion that the destruction of that dynamic is a bad thing?
It's a bad thing if it's mismanaged. It's a little bit of a tactical play. It can be and should be, and I'm just waiting for the goddamn call so I can actually destroy it all.
Just to interject, I just want to point out that to somebody who's coming into it,
yeah,
it really does seem like you're saying, hey, this is fucked up that this is a thing, but we need to maintain the dynamic, which in my mind would almost automatically involve continuing abusing children.
So to be fair, I don't state those words exactly. And I'm curious about the chain of reasoning that you're using there, because what I'm doing is I'm saying this is what's going on, and here's a proposed attack against it. And when you launch that attack, there are two possible outcomes. So it's if I didn't make that clear, then that is the intention behind that. And I should probably spell that out a bit more. But on the other hand, if you attack and you fuck up, you will not be able to attack again. They will adapt, they will double down, and they will lock the whole shit down, and they will continue doing this forever. So
is that what's going on with the Epstein-Maxwell affair right now?
That's
Has this just been mismanaged? It leaked into public, and now they're scrambling?
Not mismanaged. That leak, all of that was intentional. When you're, like I said, hunting trillionaires is not an easy thing. Hunting trillionaires is the most difficult sport you could possibly ever engage in, because there's too many chess pieces. Way too many chess pieces. So you want to make sure that when you do something, you have thought well in advance about as many complicated outcomes as you possibly could, and have reactive forces in place to manage them and steer them back into the main story. Because again, if you fuck up, they adapt and they will learn. We know what happens if Epstein goes free. We know what happens when Ghislaine goes free. All their buddies, they won't laugh. They won't say, ha ha, we pulled one over you. They'll say, fuck, that was close. We need to get better at this, and they'll get better at it. So you need to make damn sure that your kill shot's an actual kill shot, or you're fucked.
All right. I put you on mute, Jordan. We're going to get to another question. So, Coops, you had a question above. If you can unmute yourself and read it.
Yeah, I was just curious what some euphemisms would be, what would be contained in a supposed Icarus dead man switch. What kinds of things did William Turnbow change your mind on? I like that podcast with him that you did. And, you know, sweeping into your blackmail inflation talk, is that still running, you know, behind the scenes? Is that controlling the nuclear game, which is, you know, basically power on a world stage? Is that the puppet master? Is it blackmail, or is it something else or deeper connected? Yeah, I'll let you go there. Thanks.
Yeah. So I can answer all those questions in one answer, I believe. So, what is a central bank? A central bank is a central account of all transactions, meaning it is one source of authority. All the transactions that move in, all the transactions that move out. It is stamped with my authority, and there is no contesting authority to it. There's nobody out there saying, I'm also a central bank. Haha, look at me. I can get around this guy because he's an asshole, so use my banking accounting instead. That leads to messes according to the world rulers and the managers of things. And administratively speaking, it's easier to have one source of authority. A central bank does that. Now, each nation has their own central bank, yes. But then there's the Bank of International Settlements, and they resolve all of the tensions between the central banks. And then you have IMF, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank. So you have these management forces that are steering the central bank decision-making policies. How much money do they put in the economy? How much money do they pull out of the economy? This is very important to get right, because if you do it wrong, you get hyperinflation and you get, like, you know, Nazi Germany, or you get a depression and you get 1930s FDR land. So it's a careful balancing act. And that's where the problems start. It's the balancing act. Now, I've been a programmer for 20 years. And if you know any programmers, one, God bless you, they need all the help we can get. And two, they experience the folly and the hubris of the architect. That's their job, where the program has very simple rules, has maybe 20, 30 rules, but you can build these infinitely complicated variations from those rules. And application is a massively complicated beast, where you deal with a lot of exceptions and a lot of rules and a lot of these sorts of things, and you're on the hook for every line you write. So every time you write a line of code, that code is not going to get pulled out later on or ever, really. Most code rarely gets overwritten. Instead, people solve their code by adding more code. That's actually an easier way to do it, because undoing code is expensive. It's like undoing law. You have to undo all the institutions, and you have to undo all the other laws and the correlating laws and the social programs and all this other shit. Well, code is the same exact problem. Now, as you go through and you architect this thing where you have total freedom to architect it, you are now on the hook for everything you've previously done. Every rule that you've made, you're now on the hook for, and you're infinitely trying to resolve a consistency between this stuff. So you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be bugs. There's going to be problems, right? Well, the same is true for a central bank. The same is very true for a central bank. They're going to make mistakes, but what does a mistake of a central bank look like? Well, two categories of mistakes. One, the money is leaking somewhere. It's not going where it's supposed to go. So if you think of a central bank as like pipes connecting policy to money volume. All right, what happens if that pipe is leaky? Where does the money accumulate? Well, it's not going to the social program. It's not going to the purchase agreements. It's not going to bond purchases. It's going fucking somewhere, but where is it going? Well, someone figures it out. Let's say someone comes along and says, oh, I found that money. Does he run to the central bank? Hell no, that's free money. Bro, that's free fucking money. I am not going to tell the central bank that I found a leak in your system, give me a pat on the back, go me. No, I just found a bottleneck. I just hacked your system. I got free money. And the thing is, I catch you using that. Maybe you got too flashy. Maybe you bought too many Porsches, or you got too many Rolexes, and you're really peacocking it pretty hard, and you're not hiding it very well, that you got rich suddenly, despite the fact that you were a janitor 3 months ago. So you get lucky, you hit the fucking lottery. So we send the shooty boys. Shooty boys are looking at you real suspect. They're like, this dude's he's balling pretty hard. We should probably look into that. That's probably indicative of us fucking up. So we got to look into that. So he looks into it, and I go to this guy and I say, hey guy, jig is up. I know what you're doing. He says, oh shit, you're fucking up my free money here. Now, if he wasn't properly prepared or wasn't properly defended, he has to, serve time in prison and that type of shit. But if he has blackmail on people, blackmailing a central banker, politician, actor, athlete, corporation. He ain't going to jail. He's not going to jail. So that person figures out the leaks in the central banking system, and he can't be taken out of it. So you have a parasite. This is how you create a financial parasite. The parasite sits there, sucking from the mistakes of the architects, pulling all the money out, spending it however they will. And how do they rationalize it? They say, well, we won't be too greedy. We'll put the money where you intended to send it, but we're going to take our cut. Okay, that's just one parasite. I've explained how you build one parasite from a central bank. You can scale this out to hundreds of thousands of parasites. Millions, in fact. Millions doing the same exact shit. Taking these inefficiencies of the central banking system and lining their pocket with it. Now, eventually, if you have too many parasites, the host dies. So you need to start coordinating the parasites because they might accidentally kill the host too. So instead of arresting these people and pulling them out of the pipelines, which you're not going to be able to do, not mostly at least, you need to change your mode of operation much differently. You need to say, okay, we're all going to have a council of the parasites and we're going to have a nice talk about how we don't accidentally kill the free money supply that we just all stumbled upon in our own ways. So we need, just as there's a central bank, we need central crime. Because that's how you don't kill the host accidentally. So what does that central crime look like? Could be the drug trade, could be human trafficking, could be all kinds of stuff. See, the parasites, they move with this money that's unaccountable. And you need to have something that can absorb all the money that they can't spend because they might accidentally kill the host if they don't. So where do you pull all that money? There's only a few things in the world that can absorb that level of parasite-driven money. There's only, we're talking hundreds of billions, probably trillions a year, probably even more than that. There's only a handful of human organizations that can absorb that level of money, and it's not a corporation. Corporations can't absorb that. Only a state can absorb that. Only a nation can absorb that. Why? Because it's expensive to build a nation. It's part of one of the most expensive things you could do. You have to fund the soldiers and fund the workers, and you got to build the roads, and that's a lot of spending. That's a lot of spending. Now you can't just fund any nation. You got to pick a nation that's really expensive to develop. Can't just drop a line to this laundered parasite money to Russia because they have natural resources. They have stuff they could actually sell. No. You got to pick a nation that is almost impossible to cultivate, that is surrounded by its enemies, that is full of no water, that is completely covered in deserts. I can't name names, but you might have an idea.
All right, some explosions in the Zoom room right now. So we'll close off with a few more questions. My question's relevant, Peter. I don't even know what your question is. Yeah, so we'll go with Jacob, and then we'll end with Key. So Jacob, you had a question.
So everybody plays false sometimes, or in other words, everyone BS's, right? And that means I BS sometimes, less and less. But that means, Patrick, you BS sometimes too, because you're one of us, right? So this is less of a question, just calling you on some serious BS. Playfully, man, like I appreciate you. You're a clever dude. I like listening to you. Mm-hmm. But if you face the full spectrum of evil, you don't come out angry. You come out in a whole lot worse shape, or maybe better shape, but you don't come out angry. It's the last thing you come out. Thank you.
Is that true? Well, the good news is there is always new layers of human depravity that I have yet to explore. That is true. Anger is a fuel. It's a reminder that you have to do stuff. It's like this nagging, like, yeah, you should do the thing, you should do the dishes, right? The anger will drive you into action because what's the alternative? To sit and think, and that's okay. It's okay to sit and think every so often. But you can't think forever because you eventually die. You just run out of time. And all of the things that you could have done, you weren't able to do or you couldn't do. And so when you're dealing in that full spectrum space, and this is me stating that, yes, there are levels of depravity that I have intentionally refused, and there are levels of depravity that I have not been exposed to that can get real bad real quick. But with that said, people call it bullshit. I call it noise security. So noise security is an important part. Think of celebrities when they say certain things, like Kanye West, for example, right? So Kanye West is always on Twitter doing some shit. He's always just saying something wild, right? Well, that's noise security. You can't actually get Kanye West from his tweets. You may think you do. You feel like you do. You think you figured out the Kanye puzzle. But you didn't. It was noise security. You can't just look in here instead of there, right? I do a lot of noise security. There's a lot of shit that I put out there that is intentionally wrong. And I have to do that because there are people constantly trying to find information about me. Constantly. I've had New York Times send opposition research on me. Yeah, fucking when's the last time you got hit by oppo research of New York Times? Good luck. So you need noise security. So what do? I feed them dirt. I feed them fake dirt on me. It's like, oh, I was here. I was beating this black kid. Haha, look at me. I'm such a racist, right? So I feed them that. And then they go wasting all their resources and cycles on that. And they say, oh, he's close to Bannon. He must know this. I say, okay, I guess I am. So I just throw noise on that too. So I have all these journalists looking out for all this info on me, and it's all bullshit. So yeah, noise security is a really important part of it. Now, in terms of my core and my soul and my essence, like I said, I said I don't have sovereignty. I know I don't have sovereignty. So to me, I'm just a function. I mean, I've stated that many times on Twitter. That's probably the truest thing I ever put out there. I see myself as a function. Input is life. Output is getting the fuck off this rock. There's plenty of people out there who are happy or working on happiness. Let them be that. They're better at happiness than I'll ever be, and I don't fault them for that. I'm not jealous of that. Everybody has what they do very well. Some people do happy very well. I don't do happy very well. I don't do it at all, almost. Yes, things can always be worse. I do use noise security, and I'm just one person who thinks I got the alchemy right, and if I got it wrong, just go back to being poor. I came from poor, I can go back to being poor. I know how to solve that. That's easy. But then, I just live a life and I die and whatever. Maybe I get to love someone, maybe I don't. Maybe I can jump on Tinder and, Jesus Christ, it's a disaster nowadays, I hear. I don't know. I just don't do happy very well. I wasn't trained to do happy, so I don't know how to do it. So, very good at anger, though. I hope that answers something.
All right, Key, bring us home.
Hi, Pat.
Hello.
Speaking of getting off the rock, also thank you, Peter. I know I made a big deal about the last question or whatever, but I actually really appreciate it right now for the things that have been talked about. So, and thanks to everyone here as well for being here. Guess I needed to say that. Yeah. Okay. The question comes from you saying that your output is to get off the rock. So I just wanted to maybe ask you to go into that a little bit, like the Neanderthal Brain Project. So my curiosity in this is because of I'm interested in psychology a lot and the brain itself. So what part of the brain or the biology are you experimenting on? And the other part was, Mars 2020, wow. How do you feel about it? Yeah.
That's the first question. That's the first time someone has asked me about the brains. Amazing. I've been doing this like 20 episodes in is the first actual Neanderthal brain question.
Because we keep drinking every time you
I
mention.
know. Okay. So, brief history of why every single attempt at space we've done has failed and is destined to fail. Figured out the first rockets in like 1920, I think. And the Germans got really good at it. And the Americans were like, hey, you Germans are pretty good at it. Be ashamed if you die at a war trial. So why don't you, just work for us instead? And they said, hey, that's a pretty good deal. And so von Braun comes over and helps NASA, basically, right? So you have some Nazis running around and giving us their technology, and go us. Russia got their own Nazi guys. They got a lot of interesting math people we didn't take. We didn't take the math people, and that fucked us, I think, in the long run. The Russians have much better mathematics than we ever will. And it's entirely from that split after World War II. So we tried the space thing. And what is, why did space happen in the 60s? What does it do economically first? If I'm an economic planner and my currency is overheating, it's very much in demand, but I have to print only so much of it because my dollar's pegged to gold. I can't just freely print my money. Something has to absorb the hot money. And at that time, our dollar was actually pegged to gold around the 1960s. It severed in 1970. It went over to the petrodollar. I have a huge incentive to keep my economy in balance and the presence of my dollar in balance. So I need a big heat sink, just like there's central banks that create central crime. If I have a managed economy, I need something that can absorb all of the extreme amounts of money that I'm about to print. Space program was it. It first served as a function to absorb all that hot money. That was its job. And it did humongous amounts of money. I mean, stupendous, an appetite, a pit of just fire that just absorbs and destroys money. And that was its function. I mean, it's like, economically speaking, that's its function. Its scientific research was a great output. The R&D stuff that it paid for was fantastic. The laser comes from that. Certain computer stuff comes from that as well. They did fantastic work, the R&D side. That was a happy side effect. And getting to space was, maybe, put some people on a rock or whatever. But that was the huge justification. And so what that did in all of our minds is it settled the argument once and for all. Only the state can get us into space because only the state commands the money and they have the incentive and they use the economic either multiplier or destroyer of a space program to do so. So then the military gets involved and they're like, hey, orbital dominance is kind of important because Sputnik happened and what the fuck? Why is that satellite up there beeping at us? Like, what? Like, we need to do something about this. And so now orbital dominance is important. So if any other nation decides to try and build their own space program, oh, wow, look at that. Their capsule blew up. That's weird. Oh, their landing pad doesn't work. Oh, they're having they lost their electricity. That's so strange. Orbital dominance is a real important part of U.S. military doctrine. And so we've actually put ourselves in a trap where India and China are in a much better position than America is. And it's fucking bad. It's bad for the U.S. military. And as a result, it's bad for global stability in the sense in which we have it now, although there are alternative models of global stability. For starters, we only leverage the public sector. So very soon, you're going to learn that the amount of money laundering that NASA was doing was stupendous. That information's coming out in probably like a couple weeks, maybe a month from now or two. But you're going to learn that NASA was doing serious fucking money laundering and not going out to like doing the space program shit and stuff like that. There'll be more details on that later. But the key thing is that when it comes to China and India, they can leverage both the state and the private sector to go into space. So they can leverage their corporations to do it. We have like a handful of corporations owned by a couple, soon to be trillionaires. We put a lot of PR on them and they're going to solve all of our problems. But I've been to SpaceX. I've seen their shop. I see how they work. It's a 3-shift process, day and night. They have to manufacture all their stuff in-house, in country. So that means like chip fab and all this other shit because they can't trust China. They can't actually go out to international vendors and build their stuff because SpaceX they get $1 billion a year from the Air Force. Yeah, most people don't know that. So they get a guaranteed grant because the Air Force Constellation is $2 billion a year to run. And Elon basically said, yeah, I'll cover, just give me half of that and I'll reduce your costs. They said, okay, there it is. So now they just save 50% of their budget. Awesome. And then Eli's out there. So when you're playing with these powers and these like tremendous forces of nature, and just to harp on the Elon bit again, he was concerned he wasn't going to hit a certain deadline, so he wanted to leverage an alternative means of launch. I forget what launch this was, but he went to, there is a union, I kid you not, there is a union of spaceship owners. I don't know what it's called, but there's actually like people who own spaceship launches and spaceships themselves. And so Elon went to these people and said, I need a backup rocket in case my production doesn't work, because it was still like experimental and that type of stuff. And they looked at him and they saw all the star power that was Elon Musk, and they figured, hey, you're rich, we'll bilk you for everything. So they said $600 million. $600 million for a fucking launch. Eli was like, Elon said, fuck that, fuck you, never dealing with you guys again. Right? So, and then there's satellite insurance. And then there's fucking satellite insurance. So like, Elon Musk's number one play at dominating space is to intentionally blow up his ships. That's the smartest thing he could do. Because every time a ship blows up, he's going to wipe out the satellite insurance market. He's going to completely crush it. And so when you play that game, it just wipes out his competitions. There's nobody that can even afford the risk to launch. You have to use the old school tactics of doing everything in triplicate to build like 3 of everything, every damn prototype you come up with, which is still somewhat done today, but satellite insurance is a big part of reducing the risk of launching to begin with. Every time his ship blows up, and usually like satellite insurance payouts is all money in, no money out, because ships don't blow up because NASA's in charge. But he's just blowing shit up left, right, and center, doesn't give a fuck. So as a result, he's emptying those coffers. That's no longer a profitable market. Anyway, the point is there are severe imbalances in how America does space anymore. It's turned into this like catastrophic Byzantium mess of policy and funds, and it's a total disaster. So as a result, the Chinese and the Indians are going to leapfrog us pretty fucking hard. So I'm looking at this like, okay, guys, it's obvious to me now why we're not in space more. Now it's laid bare. I get it. So I realized that, okay, well, maybe putting the nerds and the eggheads in charge was the bad idea, because now it's the actuaries and the accountants that are in charge. And that's also a bad idea, because I think there was a former director of NASA. He came out and stated, this is almost like we're building ships in the 1500s, filling it full of supplies and people, launching it all across the horizon and telling it to stop and come back. It's like, that's a stupid model. That's a ridiculous model. Those ships have to do something. They have to come back packed with something, either spices or money or soldiers or something. Otherwise, why are we building these damn ships? So I looked at that and I'm like, oh, okay, well, you need a labor force. That's it. Once you have a labor force, you can take space. Now there's profit in it. There's one asteroid. It's flying around. It's about 100 million tons of platinum. It's worth $4 trillion dollars. That one asteroid. That's it. So if you were able to field the labor force that can go get that asteroid, you have just fundamentally changed capitalism. You have changed capitalism in a way that Marx cannot even envision. You will make every socialist look like a fucking lazy pile of shit that they actually are. Because what this does is you said, we're going to redirect the capital flows away from making another dog walker app. Fuck you, Silicon Valley. And we're actually going to do something useful, like collect goddamn asteroids. And the byproduct of that is we're going to create the infrastructure to keep doing it. And we're going to have the labor forces that can actually do it. Now, the thing is, you can't send humans into space because we suck at it. We absolutely terribly suck at it. They don't tell you when humans come back from high orbit. The brains are not working. The brains have problems. So what happens? Life has this one signature that's guaranteed no matter where it starts on any planet. Whether they use DNA, whether they use carbon, whether they use any other material, it doesn't matter. All life has the lesson of gravity built into it. There's no way to escape that. It is a constant of the universe. No matter what alien evolves, no matter what happens, gravity is a key part of its evolutionary cycle. And if you deprive that life of the gravity that it grew up in over billions of years, that life isn't going to function pretty well. And expanse, right? Expanse goes into that pretty heavily. So humans as the labor force in space is not possible. But what makes humans such a good labor force to begin with? It's not our hands. It's the fact that we can talk to each other. Otherwise, we'd send fucking giraffes into space to mine for us. Can't talk to giraffes. We have to send humans up there because they can listen to us and they can understand our plans and our organizational tactics. But we're not the only hominid. Not anymore. Bring them back. Let them go into space. Harden them. Get their brains ready for space. Get those Neanderthals ready for that. Because we can't experiment on each other. We have too many laws and moral qualms and issues with each other to politicizing everything because we're stuck in this identity trap. So let's send someone who isn't trapped in identity, who's been asleep for 400,000 years. Let's wake his ass up and saying, hey, buddy, you're going to save us. You're going into space. You're going to be the labor force. We're going to go. We're doing it. So you solve the labor force. You solve the demand for what space has to offer. You fundamentally change the capital flows of the planet. You can now wipe out trillionaires who don't play fair. I have everything I need. I just need time. And I got to survive all the enemies I've made. So we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know in 4 months.
Okay. Yeah, I have follow-up questions, but I think it's prudent to end here. So Pat, people are asking, is this the end of season 2? Is there season 3 coming up? So yeah, what any closing thoughts and what's your sense about season 3?
Season 1 was exploring the weird future that we're about to walk into. When you start whacking trillionaires and getting away with it, when you start coming up with losing our sentience on monopoly and all the weird gene tech that's coming. What does that mean for morality? What does that mean for law? It opens up those questions. It doesn't have a lot of good answers, but it certainly does open those questions. The one answer I'm backing is the weirdness of AI warfare at the very end of it with Gnostic warfare, which is the last episode of season 1. Season 2 was going into the what I call the blue church, but it is one of the most predominant factors in preventing that future from happening in an orderly fashion, because they're going to haphazardly, reactively try to stop every step of it along the way. And they've been doing this for a long time. It's almost like autopilot. It's not a plot to stop this type of stuff, but they keep accidentally smothering this stuff in its cradle. And I don't have the patience for it anymore. So season 2, I lay out exactly how to do that, how to actually get around some of these things, call them out on their operations, how to deal with the Leviathan when it slams into you, how to make sense of Cthulhu-like fucking entities that don't even understand themselves. So season 2 is all of that. Now, there's no rule that says a season has to be me talking and you listening. In fact, that's not something I have terrible experience with. And to be honest, it makes me a bit uncomfortable. I like having an interactive relationship with people. I like people being able to tell me things I don't know or give me perspectives I don't have. Remember, I hate identity. I like being in the real. I like being in the is. So season 3 is not going to be a presentation. Season 3 is going to be interaction. I'm inviting you to my server, everyone here. This is a server. It's a Slack clone. In that server, there are a series of chat rooms that are already opened up. Now, the thing is, as you talk, more of the server will open up based on your interests. So if you start talking about neurochimera, suddenly you'll be brought into the neurochimera channel. And be like, oh, there's the conversation going on here. So season 3 is about discovering the server. How much of the game did I make? How much of it did I plan out? And you got to find it.
All right.
And that link is in the chat, by the way.
All right, everyone. Pat, thank you for season 2 of Dark Stoa. If you'd like to give a gift to Pat, you can go to this website right here. If you'd like to support the Stoa, go to Patreon. It's probably not wise to have Patreon hosting the most dangerous man on the internet, but there you go. Yeah, and you can go to a website to check out other upcoming events at the Stoa. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight.
Thanks, folks.